The Bible is Black history. Our first lesson is God's two creations. Now, we've been taught that there's only one creation. However, in the Bible, there are two creation stories. And that's what I'm going to present to you in this lesson. I do ask that you challenge me on this. Pick up your Bibles, read, dive into Genesis, and find out what's going on. Prove me right, prove me wrong. Either way, it's a great way to study. So let's get started. Two different accounts of creation. Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 both hold an account of creation. Let's start with Genesis 1, and there it's listed in days 1 through 7. Day 1, heavens, earth, light, day, and night are created. Day 2, God creates the firmament. Day 3, dry land and vegetation. Day 4, sun, moon, and stars are created. Day 5, water creatures and birds. Day 6, God creates the plants, animals, cattle, beasts, creatures, and man and woman are created, both male and female together. Did not specify how many. They were given instructions to eat every plant-yielding seed for food, and they were told to be fruitful and multiply. Day 7, God rested and blessed this day. Genesis 2, the account of creation says, the earth and the heavens are created. Then God created man from the dust of the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. Man is placed in the Garden of Eden. The garden included the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God tells man to till the ground and to keep the Garden of Eden, but do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God then creates animals and birds, and he brings them before man and tells man to name them. Then God makes man fall asleep, and he pulls from him a rib, and he makes woman. And then it says about them, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Now, those are your two accounts of creation. I do see them as two. Let's take a look at the differences. In the first creation, man and woman are created at the same time. Second creation, man is created first, separate of all things. And there are some details given about this man. This man is created from the dust of the ground. God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, so he's given God's spirit. He is placed separate of all things. He's placed in his very own garden. And there's the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And this man is given a job. He's told to till the garden, and he's given a name. He's called Adam, and he's given restrictions. He's told, do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So there are specifics about this man who was created separate of all things. He was not created at the same time as woman. Also, God created animals before creating man and woman in Genesis 1 with the first creation. Now, with the second creation, God made animal after making man. So he makes Adam and he brings the animals before Adam, and he tells Adam to name these animals. So Adam gets to participate in the creation that's going on around him. Now, in the first creation, man and woman were told to be fruitful and multiply. In the second creation, God creates woman after creating Adam and after creating animals, and he creates her by taking a part from Adam and makes a helpmate for him, and that woman is given a name, Eve. And God forms a union between the two, and he says, leave your father and mother and cleave unto your wife. So he creates a marriage that's totally different than be fruitful and multiply. So the second creation and the first creation, there are vast differences here, and I do see them as two separate creations. The first creation, Neanderthal. So says the Bible, Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. So the Bible tells us that this is man. This is man. Now, this is the first creation, the pre-Adamic man, meaning that God created it before creating Adam. And we don't know if that means months, years, or decades before. We don't know. Science doesn't have a definitive answer on that, and the Bible is not clear on it either. However, we do know that there was a time frame between the two creations. Now, how do we know that? Let's take a look at Genesis 2:2. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. That tells us there, he rested. Doesn't mean he was tired. That's not what that means at all. It means he stopped. He rested. He stopped. So again, we don't know the time frame that he stopped, but we know that he stopped after that first creation before making that second creation. So that's what that means there. Now, to the right here, so says science. We have to look to science to find out what this creature, his appearance and what he looked like and his behavior. And science tells us that these were ape-looking creatures. Their appearance was that of an ape. Their behaviors were ape-like, but they did walk up on twos. So they were on two legs. That agrees with the Bible in that the Bible calls them man. So they're in agreement there. This also tells us that this is a skull that was found of this creature, and they've found many, and this is the skull of a human. So it also tells us that they were vastly different. The eyes are here, like the ape. That would be their eyes up there, when the human's eyes are down here. The nose is higher up, where the human's nose is down here. We have that wide nose. They have that up pointed nose, like this. This is the mouth. We have the lips, so you can't see the lips here. But they have this wide mouth where the lips fold under, so they don't have lips. Look at them. They do not have lips. So you can see that they're two different creatures, is what I'm trying to say here. This first creature and the second creature, they're different in appearance, they were different in behavior, and science supports the Bible in this. And the Bible supports science as well. Do follow up. Here there are a number of references that you can look to find out the behavior and the appearance of this creature and how science has come to find out who and what this creature was. The second creation, human. What does the Bible tell us about this creation? We did just review that. That his name is Adam, that he was made from the dust of the ground, that God formed him and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, that he was made a living soul, that he was set aside in a garden, and that garden contained the tree of life as well as the tree of good and evil, and that he was given restrictions and instructions on what to do and what not to do, that he had a helpmate, God made that helpmate from a part of Adam himself, and that Adam was able to participate in his surroundings and what was being formed around him. So this is God's master creation. Now, as to what this creation looked like, well, that's something that science can tell us. So how do we know? Here we have a skull. This is the oldest skull found to date of a human. And now upon reconstruction, this individual is formed. This is a black man. He has big lips, he has the wide nose, he has the kinky hair, he has the dark skin. This man resembles the men that we interact with today. This is a black man, God's prize and master creation. That's what science tells us, and that's what the Bible tells us about this creation. This information comes to us from the National Geographic, but it was also printed in Newsweek magazine, and there's a load of information out there on this. I mean, do your research. You can't miss it. It is well known that Africa is the cradle of civilization. So I encourage you to do that. Again, the Bible agrees with science, and science agrees with the Bible. So those are God's two creations. Now, as we study, we are going to find that our God is a God of order, that God creates in patterns. We find it biblically, but we can also see it as we look around us in nature. Now, why do I mention that? Well, let's take a look here. Here we see what we know as the house cat, and it's in the feline or the Felidae family. Well, in that family, we also find the mountain lion and the tiger and the leopard. but we know that they're not all one and the same. We can see how God has started down the ladder and inclined up the ladder to make a more masterful creation. And that's true for all of God's species. So let's move to the left here and look at the primates. With the primates, we see here chimps, monkeys, gorillas, all of those that are on the lower end of that primate scale. Then we had something that looked like this that did exist. In the middle there, that was that Neanderthal fellow. And it was the one that walked upright but had monkey and ape-like behaviors and features. Then that moved on into God's master creation, which was this fellow here, and that was and is the black man. That's the master creation of God. So God started down with the chimps and moved up the ladder for primates and made a master creation, which is the human. Now, where's this fellow now? We no longer interact with anything like that. We still see these fellows here around. We still see the monkey and the ape and the gorilla and the chimps. We still see these guys here around, but we no longer see this guy here, but it still exists. So that's our next lesson. It's called the races. And we have found, or it has been found, scientifically proven through DNA, that the Caucasian races and the Asian races have the DNA of this creature here. So it still exists, it just exists in a different form. And the Bible tells us how it goes from this creature to existing in a human form. So that's what we're going to study next, and I hope you can join us.